He is the one, the only, and the master of all frogs, and his name is...
Frogs Master 595.
Frogs Master 595.
Frogs Master 595.
Frogs Master 595. Hello everyone, this is Frogs Master 595, and today is an intriguing video. You know, many people say that right now, this day and age, Gemmy is considered lazy. And they're right. They're 100% right. Now, what if I told all of you that Gemmy was actually always lazy? That means in the 2010s, early 2010s, they were always lazy. 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, and before 2005, and then the 90s too. Don't believe me at all? Well, let me just remind you of some stuff, okay? Now, if we look back at some other times when other animated sort of things were coming out, like Teddy Ruxpin and things like that, that Teddy Ruxpin thing was made, like, in the 80s. Maybe it was the 70s, but it was the 70s or the 80s. And the quality in the voice was, for that time, good. Pretty good. Now, when Gemmy came out with their first items, they didn't even make any noise. They just moved, like motionettes. Which you'd think that they'd have more money right in their beginning, but maybe we don't have to be so mean to them there, because that is their very first stuff. But they also were just doing Christmas. But they didn't advertise themselves like they were. You see, Gemmy's website, if you go on Wayback Machine, was very weird, the way that it was. And I know it's the 90s, and the internet was not really the big thing at all, but compared to other sites that existed, Gemmy's was very weird. But again, they were just starting out, so maybe they didn't start out giving themselves a good budget or whatever, because they couldn't. But let's just move on a little bit further. Okay, when they got to their first plush stuff, their Christmas plush stuff from the 90s, like 1990, 2, 3, around where it started, with those simple things, short song, whatever, those ones, they still had a quality of sound that wasn't really good compared to other things, which is weird. But if you really go back and look at them, it's kind of true, isn't it? I mean, you don't have to agree with me, but you can tell there's at least something. Maybe just a little. Okay. So let's move on a bit further, okay? Past some of that other stuff. Once they started to get out of the Christmas and more into just a very random time, which is still when their website looked weird, they were releasing these other plush things. Some of them had bases. Some were just like the motion activated or sound activated. I'm not sure. I think they're motion activated, the gorillas. But their audio still was weird. And there may have actually been a few items before that had better audio quality than the gorillas. Now, maybe it's just because of all that plush that's around them. Maybe that's it, all that gorilla fur and whatever. But I don't know for sure. I don't have one. But moving even further, let's just say that there are other items from the 90s. Their sound quality still just wasn't as good as some of that other stuff. Now, Douglas Spur, his is good, but he's not plush at all. He's just completely plastic. So obviously it would sound good. The speaker is so close. Okay. So Gemmy's doing good there, obviously. Nothing wrong there. 100% good. Even the working conditions of them were all good. Everything good quality in the plastic and everything. But we have to get into the 2000s and stuff. They started making the pop culture series, and there's Billy Bass from a few years before. And those were all good. No sound quality problems, all nice. Except a few of the pop cultures were very faulty. Very, very faulty. And no one can disagree there. The Three Stooges, Rocky, and, of course, all of the rest were just their mouths. That did happen later, but some, who knows how early it started, right? Well, let's just say it was all of the same kind of thing. Not really a good sound quality in those early 2000 years, until they started to get to these. Now these, sound quality, no problem. They're good. Just like the pop culture series, sound quality, or Billy Bass's or Douglas Spurs, it's all good. It's probably actually still, I guess, a little bit worse than things like Billy Bass and Douglas Spurs sound quality. Because they're smaller, but that's it. It's because they're smaller, so obviously. But think they weren't lazy at this time since so many people are into these ones? Let's think about it. Of course I still like these things completely. No problems with. But it's still interesting to just look at the very, very hidden things. Now, let me show you what I mean, okay? One of the things would actually be coming down to things like this. Mechanisms are all very similar. Now, this is a series, so that makes sense, right? But then you think about how a gopher had this mechanism and a cat had this mechanism, and they weren't even monster maniacs. Of course, they did the same songs, but, well, not the gopher. So they didn't give that a new animation. Then the turtle dancers. Their mechanisms were, had a lot of problems, broke easily. And then they reused them for the Ray Bravers, Gruben Those were actually both being made at the same time, the Gruben and the Turtle Dancers. So, very different. It's two different items, but same size, use the same mechanism. Didn't give it a new one. Of course, there's a couple Ray Bravers that have different ones, but that's just a couple out of the whole majority. And the moving monkeys, well, we know how they break. Ugh. I mean, all three of these right here do not move at all. And these two, they don't spin, they just move their arms. And the frogs, well, you never really know. Might be very good, might not, I don't know. The frogs, you just don't know. There's so many of them, and they have all different kinds of little simple mechanisms that you don't know. But there's still something else, okay? That I just want you to think about. One, these necklaces right here. They're supposed to light up, but they don't seem to. I mean, the wires just came off of it. You also need to think about the frogs, actually, the wires coming off the speaker of the ones that move like I like to move it. That happens. And that's been happening since they came out. How do I have proof? Well, I guess I don't with one that moves like I like to move it, but Pondy Replay, got that in Christmas 2007, turned it on, sang for 2 seconds, wire came off, and it was just moving with no sound. So it happened back, basically, when it came out. Okay, maybe it was out for a year, but still, very new. Now, no, nothing here. No. Although I guess some of these animatronics had a sound thing where they were just so high-pitched, their sound started to kind of be hard to understand, but I don't know if we'll count that, but, you know, you'll figure it out eventually, even if it is kind of annoying. But these, the mini dancing hamsters, or dancing mini hamsters, whatever the series name is, I don't remember. But yes, you see, when there were prototypes of these, Gemmy was going to make that the button right there, see? But then they switched it to this button. See? Oh, yellow button like normal. Don't know why they didn't just do that, because they did that with all their items at the time. They were still yellow. Maybe this was right when they were going to be switching the buttons to the G, but I don't think so, because these started coming out in like 2007, which is like 2 years before the G started, so I don't know. But when they gave them these buttons, they kept the DH. I know what you're probably thinking. Oh, that's so that you can see it's a dancing hamster. But we already know that. It did have a tag on it before at some point on its ear. So, isn't this a little bit weird? I mean, what's that supposed to be on them? You know? And they don't do anything, obviously, but it even still has the button look. Like, they didn't even change anything to them. They just left them there. Which is a bit odd. And maybe some like it. And maybe others don't. Maybe some think it's weird, like me. But at least now you know how Gemmy was, in all of its times, lazy. But, wait. Now, before you do anything, even if you've already done it already, this is not a hate video at all. It's just something to think about, that's all. So don't take anything seriously. Except do, because that wasn't a joke, but take it calmly, I should say. I don't know. But maybe some of you could agree with something too. Who knows? I guess I'll find out when it's uploaded. Alright. Well, guess it's time to give out an old piece.